Hey folks, Paul Abernathy here. So, do you ever think that the National Electrical Code gets published and there's errors involved in it? Or maybe something is published and it was a mistake? What is it corrected? How's it corrected? What do you do? Well, have you ever heard of the term errata? And we're not talking about like eradicating data. We're talking about errata, which is actually correcting something that may have been published incorrectly or an omission in the NEC. And NFPA catches it and puts out what's called an errata. So an errata is basically fixing something that was incorrect within the NEC. Now, it's important that people that work with the NEC are aware of all these erratas, aware of things like TIAs, which is temporary interim agreements, and all those type of things, and you can print them off. They're available on NFPA's website. But let me kind of show you an example of an errata which corrects an error in the publication. And look, publications are going to have errors, misprints. It just happens. But once it's left that press, the only way that you can correct that wrong, in NFPA's case, is issue something like an errata in order to correct that. Okay, so let's look at an example of an errata. Okay, check this out. Informative Annex C for conduit tubing and cable tray, fill tables and whatnot. Notice all these lines? So this was printed incorrectly, by accident, of course. And this is Informative Annex C. Okay, so you have all this here, but you see where there was an error in the printing. This is just one example. So what did the NFPA do about it? Well, they issue an errata, and that is to correct any misprints, omissions, anything that was printed incorrectly in the NEC and it's caught, and NFPA will try to make a wrong a right. So let me show you what you should do when it comes to erratas. Check this out. Okay, so what I do is I go to the NFPA website and I actually print them out and I keep them in a folder that's taped into the back of my NEC. So watch this. So I'll go in here and I'll pull out my errata. Okay, and it just so happens, here we go, we have this errata, you see there, called errata. And this errata happens to address some issues with 555.53, 702.482, and there we go, the Annex C listing of tables errata. Okay, so what you'll see is down here, they'll have the clarification. So there you go, see? So that's where I've taken it and marked through it in my code book in order to match the errata. So as you can see here, there you go. So things happen, errors happen, right? But have no fear. If you stay up on it, you can print out the erratas, keep them in your code book. Same with TIAs. If you don't know what those are, I'll explain those in another video. But erratas, think of it as a way to correct an omission or an error in a printed edition of the NEC, and NFPA will put out these erratas and make things right. It happens, folks. So hopefully you learned something about erratas, and make sure you go to NFPA's website and download any erratas that you may have for your current edition of the National Electrical Code and keep them in your code book.